and welcome tonight.
Tonight,
What
what
Coronation
Coronation
Street
Street
is
is
tonight?
tonight?
I
I
don't
don't
usually
usually
watch
watch
it,
it,
but
but
it's
it's
really
really
good
good
tonight,
tonight,
and
and
it's
it's
really
really
enjoyable.
enjoyable.
I
I
enjoyed
enjoyed
that.
that.
Anyway,
Anyway,
hello,
hello,
Susan.
Susan.
Hello, Steve.
So,
So,
what
what
are
are
you
you
talking
talking
to
to
me
me
tonight
tonight
about?
about?
Well, I thought, I don't know about you, but I've really started to notice that the evenings are drawing in. We're closing our curtains earlier and earlier at 5:30, 6 o'clock today. It was noticeably really quite dark outside, and the mornings are darker, and it's cold, and all the rest of it. And I just thought, maybe tonight might be a good idea to give us a little bit of an injection of positivity. Instead of saying, oh my goodness me, it's lousy weather and it's cold and let's try and turn it on its head and find ways to explore making autumn stroke winter a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more positive, giving our autumn months, our autumn mood, a little bit of a boost. That's what I thought might be a good idea to do.
Well,
The
the seasons
seasons
have
have
changed,
changed,
and the
and the
days are
days are
getting
getting
colder,
colder.
and
And
plus,
plus,
we
we
need
need
to
to
relax our
relax our
bodies
bodies
more
more
for
for
rebuilding
rebuilding
to
to
start
start
again, I
again, I
think.
think.
Yeah, it's yes, absolutely. It's like the trees, they shed the leaves and go dormant for a while, but we know that it's going to turn around in a few months' time, and they're just taking a respite. And those leaves, we sort of think, oh my goodness, it's lousy and everything, but leaving the leaves on the ground, they provide nourishment and homes and bedding and whatever for insects and little creatures. So even the negative aspects of some of the dark nights and winter mornings and all the rest of it, even they are opportunities for nature to do what it needs to do, to be dormant, to recharge, to do what it needs to do and pick up again in the spring. So we can do the same thing, and it is about saying everything has a value. It's not what happens to us, it's our perspective, it's how we feel about things that we can turn it on its head and make it really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
how
how
do
do
we
we
prepare?
prepare?
Well, I think for a lot of people, thinking about the different areas of your life, thinking about your home, a lot of us have spent a lot of time in our homes this last 12, 18 months anyway. But as the seasons change, it's a good idea to think about how your home can be cozier. So it's like maybe, I don't know, if you've got winter curtains and summer curtains, putting your warmer curtains up. Thinking about the colours that you use in your home. So in summertime, you might want lighter colours and pastels, but winter is often a time for having cosy settees and lovely fabrics, the velvets and the woolens, and getting the bright colours out, the autumnal colours like the golds and the red and the russet and the bronze and the velvet and the velour, and maybe thinking about ways that you don't always have to spend a lot of money either, but brightening up our homes with prints on the walls and make, and thinking about lighting. For me, lighting is a huge part of making our home comfortable and improving our mood. So I'm not a fan of overhead lighting. I think it serves its purpose if you're needing to see something, but in terms of ambience, wall lights, little lamps, candlelight, even if it's safe, that is. Hey,
I was going to mention about turning your lights off, which you can do.
Yeah, and that kind of thing just makes absolutely makes a more cosy, comfortable glow, doesn't it? If you've got little lamps and wall lights rather than overhead light, which can be harsh, you make your home more comfortable so that when you are there, you're happy to settle and maybe happy to welcome other people in and entertain a little bit at home, now that we're able to do that.
Do we
Do we
use
use
our
our
blankets
blankets
out?
out?
Well, I think, yeah, for some people, they like doing, they call them duvet days, where you maybe, you're settling down watching TV, snuggled up in a blanket or a duvet, but also on your bed, making your bedroom more comfortable. So yes, whether it's blankets, duvets, getting a heavier tog duvet out, making your bedroom cozy and warm and comfortable, and having a sense of feeling settled there, and it's not a miserable place, it's a light place, so you've got some colour and lighting and cosy warm things that make your home a lot better and feel good for you.
Well, certainly can't make it around me tonight.
Definitely. So yeah, so it's also, I think, the thing with autumn and winter is that because we often spend less time outside, it's perhaps important to incentivize ourselves to get out there and top up our sunshine levels, our vitamin D levels. So if you can, getting outside maybe at lunchtime and taking a walk around the park, a brisk walk around the park, or in the evening. Our diet often changes in winter. We're not perhaps such a fan of salads and outdoor barbecues. So putting perhaps a roast or a casserole or a nice chunky soup to cook on slow, and maybe going out for a walk in the evening with your partner, your family, or even on your own for a bit of me time, and going out there, topping up your daylight levels, your outdoor levels, your fresh air and your exercise levels. And then you come back, it's cooking while you're out. You come back and you've got a nice meal ready as you walk through the door. And that can be a very welcoming way, again, to make your home feel more positive. And you've got some healthy, nutritious meal waiting for you when you come back home after having had a little bit of exercise. That's a good thing to do.
That's good, yeah. And also, because it's new for season now, it's just like take time and to heal yourself, isn't it?
Yeah. Very much so, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and also topping up our relationships. So thinking of ways that we're keeping our relationships nurtured and part of our lives still. Because yes, in the summer we might be going for long walks along the beach or the promenade or spending fun times kicking a football around and all the rest of it. Well, we can still do that to some extent and keep our friendships going. So often it's a lovely experience going out, wrapping up warm and kicking through the leaves on a weekend, maybe with your friends, and enjoy sharing those times together. Or and then going to a country pub afterwards, perhaps for a swift half and a sandwich or a bowl of soup. Or a lot of people find that they get their board games out in the winter months, and they're playing Monopoly, Scrabble, cards, whatever it might be, and having a really nice time together, so that your friendships, your relationships are still a special part of your life and are still topped up, but you're able to share and have a laugh and a bit of competitive fun perhaps, and enjoy being with each other and not neglecting those relationships. And if everybody takes something round to eat or drink or whatever, then one person doesn't shoulder a lot of expense, and it can be a nice way to spend some time, an evening or a weekend afternoon perhaps.
Yep. Plants are also something which are important too. Because they change instantly, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think our gardens are quite as invested in. As I say, I'm a big fan. I know a lot of people love clearing the leaves and all the rest of it. And I think if they're on a footpath or something, that's one thing. But certainly I think in terms of your garden itself, it's sometimes nice to leave some. I mean, I clear some up, but I leave some for, maybe there's a hedgehog or a few little mice out there, or even a few insects that need to be protected and given a little bit of undergrowth. So if you've got an odd branch or tree bark or whatever, then sometimes it's nice to leave it for the creatures that you perhaps can't even see, to have a bit of warmth and a bit of a cozy place. But yeah, you've got some plants. I'm not a very good gardener, but you've got some plants that can still flower over the winter months, and it's okay, enjoy whatever it is, but you're not likely to be spending as much time sat outside unless you get a really nice day. Not as likely to be spending as much time outside eating or drinking or reading a book, are you? It's more about, I think autumn and winter are more about enjoying the things that you might not necessarily do in the summertime. So having an afternoon with a book, or a nice leisurely bath where you light a few candles and relax, and you nurture and make sure your home is, as I said before, comfortable and cozy and as warm as it can be, and just investing time and effort and a bit of love into your home. But even maybe doing online classes or online conversation things where you're you're still connecting, you're perhaps learning something, you're keeping yourself stimulated if you're doing a course of some description, but you are topping up your involvement levels with other people, other things, and keeping yourself stimulated and active. I think that's an important thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I love it. I love the autumn. Because the leaves are off the tree, pretty colours around. Even though it's still dull outside. I love it.
Well, yeah, and for a lot of people, it is a very favourite time of the year. So it is. I think a lot of this is about planning rather than just going into a negative state and feeling a bit miserable about it. Actually planning and saying, okay, I want to. I'm not as likely to want to go out partying in the evenings, perhaps, but I still want to keep connected with my friends and my family. So maybe we will do something at each other's houses. There's something called a safari supper. And a safari supper is a great way of people in the same area, the same vicinity, having a meal, but having one course at each person's house. So you go from house to house. So one person might do a starter or even canapé and a few drinks, and then there's a starter, and then there's a main course perhaps, and then there's dessert, then there's maybe cheese. And you're taking a while to get round, and you're maybe going from house to house, and it's a great way to motivate you to do your tidying and keep your house clean and everything, because people are coming round. But it's also a great way of sharing the effort and the expense while still connecting with people and enjoying the relationships and having a little bit of exercise because you're walking from place to place. So that can be a nice way of enjoying your relationships and staying connected with each other. And that's a safari supper, which is quite a popular thing to do. And you can do that with a theme. You can do that as a dress-up event, or you can do it as even a murder mystery if you wanted or something. But you can just, have it as a sort of way, a convoy way of keep catching up with each other and keeping in touch with people that you care about.
That's good. You have to come to yours next week.
Yeah, long way to come for a sausage roll. Yeah.
But sometimes we don't prepare we I remember when I was younger, my dad used to chop all the wood up, get ready, and we used to have to open the fire, and we'd be around the bonfire. And I used to get caught off at night at the time I used to put in the fire and everything. But I think sometimes the seasons change, We also change, and sometimes, we just need to enjoy life more as the seasons change. Do you reckon?
I think a lot of that is about a gratitude mindset where we appreciate what we have. And I think a huge part of lockdown, actually, in many ways, has been that it's brought us back to basics where we actually value the more fundamental things in life, the relationships, the what we have, the, like you say, chopping wood or doing crafts or enjoying your home and doing simple things that making a stew or a soup or something and having the neighbours round. All those things are bringing it back to basics rather than lavishing on an expensive meal out or trying to think of something a bit spectacular to do. I think a lot of us are now enjoying pulling back to core values, and I think one of the things we can be doing as well over the autumn months very much is preparing perhaps for Christmas. And so some people have already made their Christmas cakes I've seen on social media this week, but also things like getting the kids involved with crafts so that you make Christmas cards or calendars or little photograph albums or something for the grandparents, and actually enjoy spending an afternoon up to your armpits in glitter and glue and scissors and cutting out and paints and drawings and crayons, and actually doing that, because I tell you what, a lot of people would appreciate a beautiful homemade card more than they perhaps would some glitzy thing from a shop. And so, because there's a lot more thought gone into it, if it's made by kids or a friend of yours has made a photograph and put it out there very beautifully on a card and sent it to you. I mean, one of my friends does that every year, and I've never thrown one of her cards away because they're gorgeous. So There are ways of saying, okay, how can I spend my evenings? How can I spend my weekends? If I'm feeling it's a bit cold or I don't want to go out particularly or it's autumnal, you can get yourself some glitter and glue and crayons and things and have a fabulous afternoon, even if you've not got kids, doing things that are lovely, which could be gifts, which could be cards, which could be mementos that people would really, really value. And I think similarly with photographs, getting your if you've got old photograph albums or collections of photos on your phone, sorting them out and doing something nice with them. So you make an array, you make a display that somebody would treasure and really love getting. And these are things which are nice to have, nice to do. And making things, knitting or sewing or gluing or crafts or, my nephew makes photograph albums and things. And, you can put in scrapbook in them, tickets from shows you've been to and a leaf from that walk when you were out there and a pamphlet from something that you saw together. And these are fabulous ways. Of somebody I know made a scrapbook for her partner at I think it was the 5th anniversary. And it was things that she collected over the years, stuck them in this sort of scrapbook thing. And that was his gift. And that was far more graciously, far more happily received than if she bought him a really expensive wallet from a fabulous shop, because it was thoughtful and and she'd cared about it and spent time doing it for him. So these are things that we can be doing over the autumn months that really demonstrate our relationships are important to us.
I remember when I was young, my children used to do the make their decorations. We never used to go out get decorations. We spent time with children to make decorations and put them up in the ceiling.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Those hoops that you stick together and things. Yeah, absolutely. And they might look a bit, amateurish, and they may not be very glitzy and sophisticated, but that's not the point. The point is we've done these, we've made our mark, we're proud of what we've done, and it makes a place beautiful and feel cared for and loved about. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah. And I think the thing is as well that at the minute, particularly when so many of us have spent a lot of time at home, educating the kids perhaps at home, working from home, perhaps not being able to work at all and stuck at home, that it is about finding ways to not be a pit pony, because it can be that you just feel that you're getting up out of bed at some point in the day, maybe hardly dressing still, maybe roaming around, doing a bit of work online and all the rest of it, that we do have to recognise that if we're staying in a lot more than we normally would be doing, that is not very good for our mental health or our physical health. So that whole thing about getting outside for some daylight, getting outside for a little bit of exercise, walking to the corner shop for a bottle of milk or walking round the block to catch up with a neighbour or a friend for half an hour and a cup of tea. These things are important to make time for, even if we think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow or I'll do it again. It takes effort. It's not nice if it's been raining and it's a bit cold and we're cosy at home and we don't want to open the front door and let the heat out. But at the end of the day, it's important to think, okay, every day I need to get out for a bit of time, because it will top your vitamin D up, and also that does impact on your ability to sleep better. If you're stuck inside all day and you're not really doing very much and you're perhaps eating a bit ramshackle, just grabbing a piece of toast or a bowl of cereal or something, these things they're okay for an odd time, but living like that is not a very positive thing to do. So thinking about self-care matters. I've got to look after myself, and I think particularly at the start of autumn we really need to be focusing on that and thinking about eating fruit and veg and fresh food, and maybe batch cooking at a weekend, but making sure we have something homemade, even if it's a soup, and getting outside for a little bit of a walk and tending to our environment, making sure it is positive and supports us over the next few months.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you for that. That was really good.
Thank you.
As the seasons change and the dogs get older, Our
Our
bodies
bodies
and
and
bones
bones
need
need
rebuking.
rebuking.
It's
It's
time to
time
make
to
your
make your
home
home
more
more
cozy.
cozy.
Somewhere where
Somewhere
you
where
want
you
to
want to
spend
spend
more
more
time.
time.
As the
As the
nights
nights
get
get
longer
longer
and a
and a
time for
time for
you to
you
look
to look
after
after
yourself
yourself
as
as
well.
well.
Autumn
Autumn
comes,
comes,
then all the
then all of
sun
a sudden,
gone, and
and
other
other
seasons.
seasons.
Look after
Look after
yourself
yourself
and take
and
care.
take care.